Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now April 4th of 2025, and given that the Walt Disney Company is dealing with a lot of struggles right now, not just related to Snow White's box office metrics falling off a cliff, but also related to the whole Rachel Zegler drama. Now, we already know that they are facing a brand new challenge since we have a Minecraft movie coming out in theaters today. That's for sure going to dwindle the box office metrics for Snow White even further for this weekend and leading into next week. You're going to see a massive difference compared to the week, of course, just before. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So we have a lot of celebrities such as new actors, actresses, personalities coming forward, beginning to call out the Walt Disney Company for what they're all about, beginning to call out Snow White specifically, and rightfully so, by the way. Some of which are also trying to defend this movie. We already talked about how Bill Burr heavily defended the film and is so against the Snow White critics. But what's interesting about this has more to do with Mel Gibson, who really is very much trying to encourage Hollywood to shape up or else. Now, what's interesting about this is that we already know that Snow White has a lot of things going against itself. They have a lot of people in the general public that do not want to give this movie a chance at all for obvious reasons because it's all DEI nonsense. They have a whole lot of valid reasons not to go and see this film. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Mel Gibson and what he had to deliver when it comes down to Snow White and Rachel Zegler and the current status of Disney. Now, we already know that Disney is beginning to axe several projects as we speak. We'll have a lot more to talk about that in the coming days. But what's interesting about this is that with the Snow White box office facing an even larger drop with the numbers than last week due to the release of a Minecraft movie, one major development going on now involves more actors coming forward to call out Snow White for what it is, one of which yet again involves Mel Gibson, who went on to deliver the following to throw Disney and Snow White in the hot seat. Look, man, I'm a patriot. I genuinely am a patriot. I love this country, and it just works. To me, when you have a company like Disney who goes out of their way, you divide the American people, because let's admit the facts here with Snow White. This is a film that was so obviously politically motivated by Bobby Boy, Bob Iger, running this company, who really had no clue, it seems, that people aren't just numbers. People are people and do have a mind of their own and can do their own research of what's going on with a film that is so heavily focused on DEI and everything to do with an exhausting ideology that is just so overused in this industry. But when you hire this Rachel Zegler person, who badmouths not just your own property, but also half, if not more, of American citizens, I think it should really be a wake-up call over who these studios like Disney hire, especially young actresses like this Zegler girl that is just so obviously lost in politics. I think Disney really took a total loss on this one. I mean, this is why they are canceling projects, from what I hear. It's that bad. The instant you change a beloved character's background or her backstory or whatever, you are alienating more than half of your audience. And look, I know some that gave this flick a chance, and it's just a god-awful movie, man, from what I hear. But it's so obviously politically motivated. Since when is Snow White this leader of some kind that aims to save society or a kingdom? And look, I get it, there have been different variants created, but this is Disney. It should be like 1937's. And about 1937, when you have this Zegler person bad-mouthing your original film and calling the prince a stalker, Disney and Bobby Boy should have actually fired her right on the spot right then and there. It's depressing it took them so long to understand that people are smarter than they think. I want to see this industry improve, and it's not going to with these studios like Disney putting out such garbage like this. Now guys, before I move on about what Gibson is delivering here, he does have a valid point when it comes down to the current status of Hollywood, when it comes to how Disney knew exactly what they were doing, and it is a politically driven Snow White film. We all know this because they really wanted to double down on diversity, equity, and inclusion, even though Bob Iger was warned 2 years in advance that this movie was just not going to work. The public was letting him know about that right around the summer of 2023, which was basically where the backlash heightened, right, to its peak, before it kind of was forgotten for several months, and then it peaked again once that trailer dropped. So we have a lot of examples, alright? The fact that you have Bob Iger really just doubling down on DEI with Snow White. That was his first major mistake, and I think that's really going to be the end of his legacy, right? That's what most people are going to know him for. Coming back as the Disney CEO is by, destroying Star Wars, specifically a show called The Acolyte, literally destroying the brand. And also, releasing a movie like this, Snow White, that is already tarnishing live-action remakes. We already know that Disney is beginning to cancel multiple live-action remakes in their roster. We'll have a lot more to talk about this because they are beginning to get very frightened about other box office failures. It seems like they can't afford any more failures moving forward at this point, but I digress. He goes on to continue. It's just not going to work, Gibson says. So I think you have some studios and productions out there with good intentions that will succeed, while the others want to resist against what Mr. Trump is trying to establish, to abolish DEI everywhere. And it's happening. But I'm sure Mr. Iger and this Zegler person are just resisting against that too. This is by far one of the worst failures I have seen coming from a studio. It's just an embarrassment to this industry and this country, and especially I think it will teach young actresses a lesson or two to not dump over your own company that you're representing, like Rachel did when mocking Snow White 37. So again, you have a lot of actors beginning to come forward. We even had Bill Maher calling out Snow White for what it is, calling out the Walt Disney Company, and you're going to see this snowball effect against Snow White, and you're going to see a lot more actors, actresses, talk show hosts really beginning to just turn on Disney that once supported them. Not saying that Mel Gibson supported Disney, I'm just saying that you're going to begin to see more actors that once supported this company beginning to turn on that company. And that really just shows you something. It tells you something about the current status of the Walt Disney Company. And it's quite ironic. It's very possible that Snow White started Disney in 1937, that's a fact, but it may very well end Disney live-action remakes as we know it in 2025. And look, I get it, we have Lilo and Stitch coming out, but there's a lot of projects that they have in the roster right now that are not even filmed yet, that are not even in development yet, that they are getting ready to cancel and scrap and just taking it off their list. That's happening right now as we speak, and this really is a major sign that Bob Iger is just trying to clean up his own mess before he steps down in 2026. I don't think it's going to change anything. I don't think it's going to make him appear as a better CEO to the shareholders, to the board of directors at all. It's not going to create any kind of a legacy. We all know that going into this. So, look, I think it's good on some of these actors like Mel Gibson calling out Disney, calling out Snow White, reaching out to more people out there that, yeah, you know what you're feeling right now about all this DEI nonsense, it is shared even within the industry itself. A lot of actors are tired of this. A lot of, actresses are also tired of this as well, because they don't want to be criticized in a film, obviously, that they star in that's going to destroy their own career. And look, Rachel Zegler was a major contributor to the loss, when it came to Disney, how much money they lost on this thing, $300 million plus, for literally, dumping on this brand or this character, this property. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.